It always comes to this. More nice shit. Morning guys, back again to do another tattoo progress update today. Where I last left off, I showed off my new third pass light blue tips and the roses, the gold under the chin / neck area on the thorns here. A lot of times people didn't even know there were thorns in here. Even my wife didn't realize those were thorns, I'll have you know. She thought they were just kind of part of the filigree. So especially having the brighter yellow in there, the light highlight points, kind of helps differentiate them if nothing else. I think it would be more annoying to me potentially if it weren't for the fact that they were very, very tucked in there anyway, so it's kind of hard to see them. So it's not like it's like a huge thing that it was tough to tell what they were, because it's like, how often are you really going to be underneath my neck, you know, or underneath my jawline to see that? Whereas the ones on my arm they're out there for everyone to see. You can see we also did these bright red high points in various places. There's still some of them peeling. There's just little spots. I think there's only like 3 or 4 up here. I actually have more of that bright red planned in some other places as well. I'll get into that maybe in a little bit here. But as you can see, and this, if nothing else, will finally maybe prove the point that I've been trying to make desperately on here for the better part of the last 2 or 3 years, is that you don't have to do dark colors. You can do light colors. I think that point got across with the green in the leaves that we've done, and now these haven't been touched in 6 months, and also a little bit with the yellow thorns, and also probably a little bit with the color and the light blue highlight here. But I think so many people had the impression for so long that the red velvet that we used all over the place was dark because it was mixing with black. No, you can get bright red. You can get, like, this is about as bright as any red you're ever going to get. Okay, and then like to see it in other places, like it's like I've never personally seen red brighter than that, and that's over black. And by the way, I had a very, very bright red bodysuit prior to the blackout. This is even brighter than that red that we used for my bodysuit. Most of my bodysuit was done with, I can't remember the brand, but it was crimson red ink. I'll find it and put it in here. And the only thing that really mattered was that I kind of remembered that ink color. And so if I couldn't find, like if I was working with a different artist, for example, at that time, and I couldn't find that exact red in their arsenal, then we would go with the one most similar to it. And all of my red in that suit was similarly, or at least very similar colors. There were parts of it that were mixed with black ink where I wanted darker reds, or the artist wanted darker reds, or whatever the case was. But yeah, it was primarily crimson red we used for that. And this is much brighter than that was. So this is brighter than the roses I had on my head. They were like fire hydrant red. And so I don't want to have my entire bodysuit be that bright, right? And if you want to see how that ages, that's how that ages. That's maybe a little over 3 years old, and hasn't been touched. So same as Spider Eyes, that's that same red nebula. It's incredibly bright. It's almost ridiculously bright, and I think if I get that bright again, I'll probably end up blacking it out. So that's a no-no. The black, there wasn't as much room for black on the neck roses, but it did its trick. Everything is illuminated even more now, standing apart even more. So a very, very successful overall, if moderate session. Sometimes when you get into the final chapters of a project, the pieces that you're working on and the parts that you work on, it's more like you're emboldening and kind of tweaking and embellishing details, and it might not look like a lot is done, but if you compare side by side, the roses stand out a lot more. And the pops of red kind of bring some light and clarity and just some emphasis in different directions. I didn't intend for it to be an overall makeover of the red velvet. With that said, I had another session with Rick here, a day short of normal. Tattoo industry's been a little slow lately. This has been a thing all over the world. I keep meaning to bring this up. I haven't had space for it, but it's been slow. I think these things happen. It's the first time since I've been at this shop that it's slowed down a little bit. And so Rick actually didn't have a Sunday appointment this week. He had a cancellation and I couldn't fill it. It seems like everyone's wanting to use their summer. It's not usual for Rick to have a day that I can't fill. Just a big MO. Usually he's booked out. He doesn't like to book out more than 3 months. So even when his books are booming, we kind of put a limit on it. Like he'll close off to new projects if it gets upwards to 2 to 3 months. He doesn't like taking any more clients until he's kind of gotten through some of it. So at one point in his life, he was booked 2 years out, and he had a motorcycle accident, and it was hell on wheels, no pun intended, to try and get through that because so many people have deposits and had to be rescheduled and all this, and he's not great at his own scheduling, so you can imagine this didn't go real well for him. And he never wants to be that booked out again. So, and you'll find often that artists will close their books when they get to a place where they're comfortable with it, but we're not closing books right now. We're taking new clients and pretty well any projects. And it's not like we're bereft in here. We're still doing pretty well, but I have seen some artists even leaving the industry or getting second jobs and things like this. A lot of times people will see the price of a tattoo and they assume that all tattooers are making bank. Well, I can assure you that is the case sometimes, but it's very much a feast or famine thing. It's not always the case that these guys are rolling in dough. And because they're used to being handed large sums of money, I think some of them are better at this than others, and don't take this the wrong way, but a lot of tattooers aren't the best with their money. It's something I've observed around being in this industry for a very long time. I think it's the idea that you can potentially get a paycheck any given day of the week, and money in hand is another thing, cash in hand. Tattoos being one of the only industries in the world that's still cash only. I think that cash is a little easier to spend sometimes when it's in your hand than it is when you get that paycheck and it's in your bank. I don't know what the psychological correlation is to that, but I made sure that my wife, when she got into this, we got an Excel sheet for her tips and the tax that's going to get taken off of her and her daily earnings, so that she's not looking at this day to day, because day to day sometimes it can be, you could do a $400 or $500 day, and then the next day you do $50. You know, it can be that varied, and so it's best to almost pay yourself like any other job and keep track of your finances. And unfortunately, a lot of guys don't do this, and especially the older guys in this industry really don't keep track of any of it, and it's hell when things slow down for those guys and they don't have a nest egg. Anyway, I've been getting a lot of kind of inquiry for September and October and things like this. So it's not to say I was worried anyway, but I think that this summer has been really bad for a lot of people. I've had other shops contact me. I've had other artists kind of reach out that I've worked with in the past and ask me about how our booking's looking, because their booking's not been what it normally is either. So I think it's one of those things that seems to be all over the world, and I think some people aren't having this problem, but most people are to some extent feeling some sort of change. Could be a change in the overall climate of the industry, or what people are looking for, or how much money people have got. I don't know what it is, but I don't expect that people will ever just stop getting tattooed. I think that it's kind of recession-proof to some degree, and if changes need to be made, they will be made, and that will be that. But anyway, after that long tirade, and I really did want to touch on that because I've had people even reach out to me on my Instagram and stuff and ask me about this, so I figured I better at least make a note of it at some point here. Yeah, so I had another session with Rick. Obviously, you've already seen from a thumbnail. The people who are going to watch this video all the way through will have seen the thumbnail and dipped out by now, so I don't mind getting to this so late into the video. The idea was obviously to do this as well, but we did this one on the wrist. It's hard to show. Wraps. And yeah, I'll just get in here and show it. It's very hard to show, but obviously there'll be pictures. Anyway, I don't mind that we didn't do the whole thing. I really don't. And that was, believe it or not, over 2 hours of work. There's just so many little details and so many fucking colors. And I've explained already how Rick works and the layering. And some of these tones are layered tones, right? So I don't mind that we didn't get this piece in here, because what we did get in here this time, I believe in. I really do. Last time that we did this, the second time we did the tentacles on the hand, we did do them all. But the session was overall more painful last time, and I think it was not put in as well. I think Rick is still trying new techniques on me, and I think this time he was better equipped, and I think everything went better overall. Everything is clearer. This is by far the clearest it's been. And so next week we'll be coming through here and doing this part, and there's some other little ones throughout here. Overall, the whole sleeve is in a pretty good place. Again, this is a little dry today, but I really like how the face is looking in my armpit. So, yeah, the arm overall has never looked better. Obviously, that should be the case. We shouldn't be going backwards. But this has not been worked on in months, and you can see that it's not changing. I do want to, when we get the rest of it more or less up to the same level, I want to go back up here and hit all this probably one final time. As you can see, there's still some stuff that needs to be done in here too. But like, I see what we got with this, and I think that's even better than up here now. So it's just like, it's a process of refining, and I know what we could do with it. And especially because it's on my arm, and I don't find arms painful. Like, I don't care realistically if it takes 100 sessions. I know I've been saying 60 to 80 sessions, right? And in truth, I think we'll be pretty close. But if it took more than that to get the result that I know we can get, then we're going for it. And Rick's as locked in on that as I am. And I don't think it's just because he needs a paycheck either. I think he's enjoying this project as much as I am, to some degree, maybe more at times. And I think there's always, like, when you work on a big project, I think there's always some kind of sadness when it comes to an end. At least some of them, right? I'll be sad when the sleeve is done, but I'll also be thankful. Like, I've been on the fucking journey. No one can say I haven't been. So it will be harder and when we get to the end of it, but we're at a place now where every session it's looking better and better. And for the first half of the sleeve, it kind of felt like trying to reel in a great big fucking shark or something. You know, you go fishing and you don't catch a fish. You catch a legendary whale or something. You know, you got this huge fucking like fish on the hook, and you're just fucking reeling. You know, your line's breaking. Like, I don't know if this is a good metaphor, but it felt like trying to fucking slay a dragon or something. And now the whole thing is more or less under control and consistent throughout for the most part. And now you come in with the polish and you make everything nice. And that's a great feeling. That's kind of how it felt when we did these last few sessions on the rose sleeve too. And I don't realistically think we can make this much better now. And so that's where you kind of go, well, it's on to other things. You know, it's on to doing other things. Like, we're going to be, I want to buff up the brain here. I've got some ideas for that. I'm not going to discuss exactly what we're going to be doing with it, but I think it's going to look a lot better very soon. And we're also going to be working on my hand this week. Just doing the new black in the fingers, as even though it's still not perfect, it gave more emphasis to the red, believe it or not, than there was prior. And so we're going to be putting some bright spots on the hand as well, and more spider web, and just an overall redo of the red that is there as well. So that's going to be a fun session coming up this week with Terry. And yeah, if you're keeping track, This hand this year has been tattooed, what, 4 times in total? And this one has been tattooed 5 or 6 times. So I like to bring these things up every now and then because sometimes when I say the numbers of times that I've had areas tattooed, I'll have blowback from people who don't pay any fucking attention. But you can go back and you can look through these videos and you can see that I'm correct. Even in the years that I've been documenting my tattoo journey, these are absurd numbers we're talking about. These are all world records, even in just the last 5-6 years that I've been doing YouTube. They're all world records, every one of them. And if it sounds absurd, it is absurd. And it's even more absurd to consider that in my first YouTube video, I came in here with multiple layers and I was already working on a full second bodysuit. And my first suit had reworks in it. And even in I watched a video that I made. I'm not going to get too much into this because I'll talk about it in another video. I watched a video that I made way back at the start of 2019. And it just was in my feed and it was only like 10 minutes long. I was like, this is why I made these, because one day I'll go back and I'll watch some of them and see where I was at various points. Even then, I was saying things like, whenever I say this is the last time I'm going to do an area, I think to myself, no, it's not. I know I'm going to do it again. I should stop saying that. It's probably never going to be the last time. That was about 6 years ago that I was saying that then. It was already an absurd amounts of layering in places. So, in case you're ever doubting me on these numbers, not only is there tons of proof of it, but even in my earliest YouTube videos, there was already so many layers. So, anyway, I will be talking to you guys here again in a few days, and hopefully I'll be showing off a good result. I think we've got some really good colors here. I'm very... Usually I know now when the color's in there pretty good. It's very rare that I'm, surprised anymore by the results. So I think that this time will be pretty solid. If we need to do it again, it'll be just one more time in those spots. And, of course, we have to come back through and do the same here and then do the red. And not the last time for the hand and not the last time at all, but we're getting there. All right, I'll talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day.